The movie starts in the United States during Civil War. Texas and California have separated to form the WF, Western Forces Militia, while Florida has its own alliance. A president serving a third term leads the government against the secessionist movements often seen on TV promising victory. However, people don't believe him, and it's expected that Washington, D.C. will soon be reached by the WF. Lee, a war photographer, watches the president's speech from her hotel room in New York. She takes a photo of the TV and then witnesses a bombing in the city the next day. With her colleague journalist Joel, she heads downtown to cover a protest where people are desperate for water. Lee joins the crowd to take pictures, but things turn violent when police try to push people back, causing retaliation from the crowd. Amidst the chaos, Lee rescues a young photographer named Jessie, who admires her work. Lee notices an armed woman with an American flag in the crowd and pushes Jessie to safety before a bomb explodes, killing many. Lee and Joel, along with their mentor Sammy, discuss their plans at a hotel where journalists stay. Lee tries to upload her photos despite slow Wi-Fi. There are rumors of a big attack on July 4th, but they're unsure. The power goes out, common since the war began, but the hotel has a generator. Sammy learns Lee and Joel's plan to reach DC for an interview with the president who hasn't spoken to the press in over a year. Sammy thinks their plan is risky and suggests going to the front lines in Charlottesville, Virginia. Lee initially hesitates but agrees to take Sammy along. Later, Lee encounters Jessie, who thanks her and returns her vest. Lee advises Jessie to keep it and get a helmet for safety. Jessie admires Lee's work and aspires to be a war photographer like her. Lee, haunted by the horrors she's witnessed in past wars, tries to relax in a bath but struggles with the memories. The next morning, the group prepares to leave, surprised to find Jessie in the car. Joel questions Lee's decision, pointing out her hypocrisy, but Lee agrees to take Jessie if they drop her off in Charlottesville with Sammy. As they leave the city, Sammy reminds Jessie to watch out for abandoned cars on the roads. At a checkpoint, soldiers check their journalist IDs before allowing them to pass. During the trip, Sammy and Joel brainstorm questions for the interview, considering topics like disbanding the FBI and using airstrikes against American citizens. They stop at a gas station guarded by armed men needing fuel desperately. Initially hesitant, the men agree to sell fuel when offered extra payment in Canadian currency. Meanwhile, Jessie notices something and investigates, followed by Lee out of concern. They discover two men hanging, tortured by the armed men who claim they were looters. Jessie freezes, unable to act, while Lee distracts the gunmen and takes photos. Back on the road, Jessie regrets not taking photos, but Lee explains it's part of the journalist's life to witness and document such events. As they travel, they hear more speeches from the president on the radio and witness destruction everywhere. Lee spots a fallen helicopter and stops for Jess to take photos. Jess apologizes for being a burden and reveals her camera belonged to her dad, who hides on his farm, ignoring the chaos. Jessie wonders if Lee would photograph her if she ever got shot, but Lee leaves her to draw her own conclusions. In the evening, the group stops to rest, observing gunfire in the distance. Lee reflects on how she used to cover wars to warn people, but now violence is all too close. Sammy notices Lee's dwindling faith in journalism, which influences her tough attitude towards Jessie. Meanwhile, Joel comforts Jessie, acknowledging the difficulty she may have sleeping after witnessing such events. They sleep outdoors like campers that night. The next day, they head to the area of gunfire they witnessed, where Lee and Jessie take numerous photos of two opposing groups exchanging fire. A man caught in the crossfire is shot despite attempts to help him, captured on camera by Jessie. His teammates try to save him, but he succumbs to his wounds. Inside a building, they witness more violence as a bleeding man is shot by a team they were following. Joel appears unfazed, laughing with a fighter as if it's a regular day at work. The soldiers capture enemies, executing some, which Jess documents. Later, they reach a refugee camp where they have to sleep in their car as all tents are full. Jessie develops her photos manually, bonding with Lee, who shares about her parents living in denial on a farm. Disappointed with her photos at first, Jessie learns it's normal and eventually finds a striking image of the dying man. Lee praises her work. That night, they relax with other refugees before facing more horrors the next day. In the morning, the journey continues, witnessing ongoing death and destruction along the roads. Jessie takes more photos, adding faces of friends for impact. Eventually, they arrive at a seemingly normal town where people go about their lives as if there's no war. They stop at a clothing store where Jessie convinces Lee to try on a dress, capturing her rare smile in a photo. Returning to Sammy, they notice armed men on rooftops. Sammy remarks that this peaceful life wouldn't suit them, finding it boring. Later, they stumble upon an abandoned circus with a dead man in the road. Lee checks for danger with her camera but finds none. As they enter, their window is shot, causing panic. They find safety near a truck, encountering camouflaged soldiers waiting for the shooter. Jess and Lee document the event as Joel interviews the soldiers, revealing they're not affiliated with any side, just defending themselves. After the shooter is neutralized, they continue, noticing a car speeding toward them. Lee slows down, but the car passes harmlessly, containing fellow journalists Tony and Bo Hai, friends of Joel's. Tony reveals Joel's drunken disclosure of their destination and his flirtation with Jesse. Excited to join, Tony jumps in their car while Jesse reciprocates the prank, hopping into their friend's car. Lee worries, especially when their friend's car disappears ahead. Suddenly, a military vehicle passes, forcing Lee to swerve off the road to avoid a collision. Luckily, Lee manages to stop the vehicle just before it hits a tree. They quickly return to the road and find Bai's car abandoned by a farm with its doors open. Investigating, they discover Bai and Jesse held captive by loyalist gunmen, who are executing people and burying them in a mass grave. Sammy notes these gunmen aren't ordinary soldiers, they're operating in secret. Lee, Joel, and Tony approach the gunmen, claiming Bai and Jesse are part of their journalist group heading to Charlottesville to cover a university reopening. Without hesitation, the head gunman shoots Bai and Tony when he learns Tony is from Hong Kong. Sammy arrives and rams the soldiers with the car, allowing the group to escape despite Jesse falling into the grave and needing help to climb out. Driving away, Jess and Joel struggle emotionally, barely traveling before discovering Sammy has been shot. Joel takes over driving, speeding through a burning forest to reach the WF military base in Charlottesville. Unfortunately, Sammy dies, leaving the group devastated. They learn that most loyalists have surrendered, making DC vulnerable, but they can't have their interview with the president due to his imminent death. Joel is frustrated, feeling Sammy died for nothing, while Jesse admits to feeling scared yet alive during these events. Later, as Lee washes Sammy's blood off the car, they decide to join the WF to cover their attack on the White House. Despite most loyalists surrendering, enough remain to continue fighting. As the WF attacks the Lincoln Memorial, the journalists follow, with Jesse taking impactful photos. Lee freezes momentarily from PTSD, but Joel helps her regain focus, allowing them to keep moving as tanks and helicopters clear the way. The soldiers take positions on different rooftops to establish a defensive line, while the journalists hide behind an armored car to cover the story. Suddenly, an explosion sends the armored car away, forcing the group to run for cover. Jesse, slower due to taking pictures, captures shots of a man engulfed in flames and a tank breaking through the White House wall. Lee struggles emotionally, needing Joel's encouragement to keep moving. Nearby, other journalists witness Secret Service agents escorting the president from the White House. As their vehicles crash, soldiers surround them, executing everyone inside. Lee suspects it's a decoy and leads her friends into the White House to find the real president, pursued by soldiers. Inside, they find bodies but little else. Soldiers search the building, leading to a confrontation with the surrendering agent. Jesse takes photos as the agent is shot, prompting a firefight with more agents. The journalists document the violence as they move through rooms, encountering loyalists and secret agents. In a tense moment, Jesse risks a photo in the hallway, but Lee shields her from gunfire, sacrificing herself. Jesse, in shock, continues with Joel to the Oval Office. Soldiers surround the president, but Joel delays their execution to get a quote. The president pleads for his life, which Joel takes as his final words before soldiers kill him. Jesse's last photo shows soldiers posing triumphantly with the president's body. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.